Hello, everybody. It's Carl Gresson. Hey, reason we're here. I had put anyway. There was a couple questions on Facebook. I went ahead and said, hey, if you are interested in looking, trying to earn 100,000 in like 3 to 4 months, basically, it was kind of generic up there. I'd be happy to give some tips. I was surprised because I only put it out there for like a person, one or two people, and I had more and more people responding. And then as days went on, I got a couple more, that sort of thing. So I kind of waited, and I'm sorry, it's probably been a couple of weeks now, but I was waiting to kind of only do this once. I'm also didn't want to go ahead and do this Zoom and have people having to come and see it and all that stuff. And I also figured now this was a great time to do it. Sometime, it's Memorial Day weekend, so not everybody's going to have extra time to sit down and watch this. But a lot of times people do on the holiday weekends. If not, you can always look at this next week or whatever you want to do. Just depends how important it is for you. So I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to go through some things. That I would suggest. Some of you will probably like the information, some of you won't, but then we're going to get into a bunch of meat to help you actually do this. I'm not here to do a bait and switch or anything else. But I've been doing this 24 years. And honestly, at the end of the day, I really do. I'm at this point where I really want to help people as much as I can and give you some great information. And I try not to lead people the wrong path. Through my career, I have wasted thousands and thousands of dollars on different programs and companies and all kinds of things. I was actually at Keller Williams one time. I was on ALC, I think is what they called it. It's been a while. And I was even teaching a marketing class for new agents. And in fact, I spent probably half of that class telling people what not to spend their money on. So anyway, so I like to think I have things figured out, but things change. You always got to stay on top of it. I was with just to tell you a little bit, I've moved around a little bit in 24 years. I was in Vegas for 8 years. I've been in Florida now for 16. I was with EXP. I was an Icon agent both years I was there. And I'm only telling you some of this stuff just to show that at least there's some credibility. I'm not some guy that does, two transactions a year sitting on my couch. That's not it at all. I'm still very active in real estate. It's real estate first. Let's move ahead. Let's do things. I'm always constantly looking at what we can do to do more business and what we can do to make it easier. What can we do to convert at a higher level and that sort of thing. So if you want to make 150,000 a year, do you want to do that talking to 500 people or maybe 150 people? And that's just throwing out some generic terms. But if you can do it talking to less people, that's great. If you want to double your income, that's great. But if you want to just stay where you are and convert at a higher level so you could actually work less, we can help you with that too. So it just depends where you're at. I usually tell a lot of agents that you can easily double your business by just coming over to the brokerage I'm at, which that's part of what I'm going to talk to you about, and that sort of thing. And only because they have great tools. I've been around a long time. Most brokerages really don't give you stuff they say they do, and they have training and all that stuff, and that's great. The company I'm with, LPT Realty, really does give you tools to convert. Again, I've been doing this a long time, and I can tell you in the last year, I had several listings. I know of 6 listings at least. Sometimes you don't always know why you get the listing, but I had at least 6 listings that were specifically because of the marketing we do as a company and the materials I was able to show them at the listing. One was $900,000. Had a couple of them in the high 600s. There was one in the 700s. So higher end. I actually did more higher end properties in the last year than I've done in any year in business as well. And again, it's because I'm showing some nice high quality stuff. Yeah, those figures. My dog's been quiet all day, so now they're going to bark now that I get onto a Zoom and recorded Zoom. But that's okay. We'll get through this. Anyway. So I just wanted to let you know. So there's a lot of ways to do it. So real quick, I'm with LPT Realty, similar to EXP. And the only reason I bring that up because if you're familiar with that model at all, at least you'll have an idea. Okay, hey, knock it off. Absolutely incredible. I that they're doing this, but hopefully I don't have to turn this off and start over. So anyway, we're going to get into this. So EXP, very similar. We actually have 2 levels you can get into the company, though. You can get into a company with like a $5,000 cap, and then you can get into our company with a $15,000 cap. I'll be honest with you, I joined on the 80/20 $15,000 cap program. I did that because it was a no-brainer. I was kind of used to that. But honestly, that cap has been really zero and that sort of thing. Because I know I've converted people at a higher level because of where I am. With our lead generation program, I have closed enough deals to pay that $15,000. And between the stocks I'm earning and that sort of thing, that's more than covering my cap. So honestly, I'm way above the 100% if I look at it that way. Not everybody wants to recruit, and I'm not the biggest recruiter either, just so you know. I'm really more of a believer in, hey, let's do real estate and that sort of thing. But at the same time, the opportunity is so big here, I feel obligated to at least let people know about it. And then if you look at it honestly and think it's not for you, that's fine. But the people I know who have looked at it really seriously, almost everyone has joined, because it's really a no-brainer. Because if you can just come here and do real estate like you've always done, and then just do more business because you're using the tools, whether it be the Chime CRM, the dot loops we have, if you're taking advantage of the social media stuff, we actually do free billboards for agents. There's a whole bunch of free social media templates that you can put online to show off your marketing plan and all kinds of stuff. All of that is free. I talked to a social media gal who said it's somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 it would cost her if she was to do these tools that have been given to us for free. There's just all kinds of stuff that are free. Real quick, I'm going to go through that. The marketing, I already touched on some of it, but the marketing materials are free for listing. So what happens is, let's say you go into a listing appointment, you go through and explain all of your great marketing you do, and then you can actually show them the marketing materials, the door hangers, the just listed cards, the interior flyers. It just totally separates you. The one transaction I mentioned earlier that was a $900,000 listing, it had expired in November, and then he went ahead and relisted with us actually in February. He was interviewing 10 agents. I was number 9. A little bit hard to read a couple, to be honest with you, so I didn't really know where I stood, but we did end up getting the listing. And again, it was all because of the marketing tools and stuff that we have. And what happens is, with most agents, we don't have enough money typically to continue to brand ourselves and to do stuff and things like that. Our broker and our owner understood that, so he really tried very hard to give us as much of stuff as possible, or to give us access to things that are very inexpensive. So again, these marketing materials are totally free. You get the first one free. It's just a sample pack so you can be showing your listings. Then when you take a listing, you go ahead and order it. And the only thing you have to pay is shipping. Every place is going to be different, obviously, and the shipping rate. I pay $22. And this is probably for a $200, $300, $400 package. I've never had anybody quote it, but all nice, high quality materials. It's really, really pretty cool. And I can tell you more about that if you're interested with it. Hold on a second. Some other marketing materials just to show you. And I'm trying not to bore you with any of this, but at the same time, I want to give you enough details. So, and I'm not going to go through all the nuts and bolts of anything, but I want to give you enough information. So if you're interested at all, at least if you have some interest, at least you'll know a little bit and you can ask more detailed questions. This is the one magazine I love, Active Marketing Plan. If you went to like an Office Depot or something, it would be very expensive. It's all full color, has our whole digital marketing plan, our direct marketing plan, which is the materials I just mentioned to you. I don't know what this is, 40 pages or something like that. Go to Office Depot and see what a 40-page, color magazine would cost you. That's $4 if you get that. And then I think these are $2. This is a 7 home buyer strategies, explaining to them how they can still purchase with the higher interest rates and that sort of thing. Some really, really good information in here on 7 steps. And then this one is, if you're at a listing appointment and for whatever reason you still can't close them, this is really cool. It's the 9 critical questions. So you leave this for them, explain to them how important it is to use these questions as they're interviewing other agents. Of course, these questions are going to be tied in directly with, a lot of the marketing we do, and really make that other agent look a little silly when they can't answer questions and show samples and things of that nature. But that's just the tip of the iceberg of things. But I love those. So I show them all the time. That usually helps me to close deals. I've had sellers who will get leads in, and for whatever reason, they don't want to get together. They say they're a month out or 2 months out. Specifically, I had this guy I talked to, it probably took about 4 or 5 months to get it listed, but he has had a condo on the beach. He thought it was going to be too high at $1 million, but he really wanted 1 million. I kept staying in front of him, but he was in Indiana. So what I did, I actually took this package and mailed it to him in Indiana. He was so impressed with it. Not only did he keep it, but he told me 2 months before we got the listing that he was going to end up using us. And then when he came to town for a weekend vacation, we got together and we listed the property. One of the easiest sales ever had too, especially in that price point. We sold it in like 6 hours once we listed it. There was a guy in the building that was waiting for one to pop up on that side because that had the ocean view. Ended up selling it for 970 in 6 hours. So took a little less, but it was pretty easy. And he thought, it was going to sit a long time at $1 million. So he was thrilled. So anyway, I just want to let you know there's really good power in this stuff, and it's repetitive, it's consistent. You can choose your own colors even. So if you don't like the blue, you can do green, you can do the yellow, you can do whatever you want on that stuff. Where we are, so let me explain where we are. On my website, and I'll put a link, hopefully I'll remember when I send this out, but I'll put the link below to my website, which is really our recruiting website. It tells you a little bit why to sign up with LPT. In the upper right-hand corner, it says wait list to sign up. The reason it says wait list, we have a lot of people in states where we're not yet, and people want to join. Of course, if we're already where you are, you will get the paperwork within a few days. And obviously, at that point, it's up to you if you really want to sign up. We've had a lot of people just go there and put their info in, put me down as the sponsor, because I do get revenue share for that, and I want to really help people in my group even more. But if you do that, again, you're not signed up until you actually sign the ICR and all that stuff, and you see everything. So just so you know that. So where we are right now, first of all, we started in Florida. We're Florida based. We're in Lake Mary, which is outside of Orlando. The company started early February of last year. Fastest growing brokerage ever. We have over 4,000 agents already. EXP Real, which is another company that does revenue share, they both went public before they even had as many agents as we have. So the cool thing is there's still time, if you're interested at all, to get involved, start building up some stock. People made millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars at EXP when that thing went IPO'd, and they were able to take advantage of that with the stocks. So this is really still, even though we have so many 4,000 agents already, a lot of room for growth yet, whole bunch of states yet to open, and a whole lot of room to really build the wealth. And the way I looked at it, if you're going to sell real estate, as you sell real estate, you're just going to acquire and get stock for doing production. So that's not taken away from anything. It's not like we're out there selling vitamins. You want to tell a few of your friends about the opportunity. Well, if they join, now you're going to make a little bit in revenue share. But if you want to really build it up, the revenue share, I know guys making $6,000 a month. I know guys making $18,000 a month. It just goes on and on. The guy in my upline, he's only recruited 29 people in a little over a year because he started April 1st of last year. And he's got over 300 people now. But if you think about it, if you get like 30, and then each one of them get even 2 people, so now that's 60 plus 30. Now you're at 90. Now what about those 60? What if they get 2 or 3? Now you're over 150, 200, whatever the number is. It just keeps going. So it doesn't take long to build a pretty strong downline, and then to have some nice. Wouldn't it be nice to wake up, December 1st and know you already have $6,500 probably coming to you that month before you even sold a piece of real estate? Not too bad. Maybe a year from now it's $8,000 or $10,000 you're waking up to. Pretty cool, pretty exciting, pretty motivating. What I'm looking at is more on the stock side as well, because I'm really excited when that goes to IPO. Last year, in the first year of business, I earned well over 5,000 stock. So now if that's, let's say it's even $20, which should be a no-brainer, that's quite a bit of money. And we're continuing to add to that group. So where we are state-wise, and I'm going to get into what you really came here about. But honestly, again, if you were interested at all to sign up with LPT and you did, you could literally take all these tools, plug them in, and you could double your business without even doing the extra things we're going to talk about next. So anyway, where are we? Of course, we're in Florida. We're in Texas. And of course, we started in Florida. We didn't open up everybody else right away at all. It took us months and months and months. So most of the 4,000 are still here in Florida. I think we have like 300 people in Texas, small state, or a large state. So obviously a lot of growth ready for there. We're in North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, and Colorado. Now I know with the people that came in, because I asked a lot of you, not everybody answered me, but most of you did. It's about 40% of the people in this group are actually in one of these states. The other state I know of that we're going to be opening up is Nevada, August 1st. That's a coincidence. I think I mentioned earlier, I was actually in Vegas for 8 years, so I still have folks there. So I'm going to be working on to let them know what's going on, and that sort of thing. But if you're in any of those states at all and would like to more information, obviously get back to me, click on my link. I'll leave my number at the end of here. You can call me or text me, but I'll give it to you now too. But it's 727-424-6330. My other number is 727-202-2112. But I'm really, again, like I said, all about helping people, helping you to build some wealth, because you can do that as you do this business. So many agents never retire because they can't. This is a process where you could actually retire because of the stocks, you retire because of the revenue share. But at the same time, the company is so cool. Our broker is not taking his foot off the gas either. He keeps adding more things, and there's more value to what we're doing than any other real estate company. Like I said, with all the marketing tools, we have a lead gen program like homevalues.com. This is TV commercials he's spending money on. Those leads are coming in and getting dispersed to LPT agents exclusively. He's also spending, and I don't want anybody to join because of the lead gen program, because things change all the time. Or in the other states, I don't know when it's going to be rolled out everywhere else. But he's spending $500,000 a year right now on Zillow leads. He just started this in January, and yes, $500,000 a month on Zillow leads. And the whole goal is to help agents supplement their income. And as he says, if he can help us do 3, 4, 5 more transactions a year, what is that to our bottom line? Of course, it has to make sense to him. So he's looking at about 120 units to sell per month to make it make sense for him. I've run those numbers. If he's making money on that, I guess he would be, but it's not much because those Zillow leads are very expensive now. And he's looking at 70 transactions, real estate closings per month out of that, and 50 lending transactions. Obviously, there's lenders involved with it who are getting tagged to these leads as soon as they come in too. But we're not paying anything until we close. And the cool thing with these leads, these are actual appointments. So even though it's a 35% referral fee, no different than getting a referral fee from other people. But it's a name, it's an appointment time, it's all that stuff. It's not just here's a lead, try to track somebody down. So it comes into our office, they set the appointment, here you go. And now it's up to you to go out and close them. And they're looking at about a 10% conversion rate on that, which really is should be easy enough to hit if you're actually working them and doing that. And we have some systems in place to help you, guide you with that stuff too. So anyway, I probably went a little long on that segment, but I'm just so excited about LPT that I get wrapped up. So anyway, let me get into some stuff here. Before I get into some things you could do for leads, I always like to talk about conversion, because honestly, I think most agents do an awful job with conversion. And if they did a better job with that, they wouldn't need as many leads. I'm all about marketing and leads, and let's talk to new people. I talk to new people pretty much every day. We have so much stuff coming in, but at the same time, we're constantly cultivating and that sort of thing with all of the older leads as well too. I mean, even our CRM with LPT, it comes in, it reaches out to them by text. There's AI involved with that, and they're reaching out all the time. The AI, I would say about every 10 days, maybe even a little less than that, we get at least 1 or 2 people that engages with the AI, which was helpful for us. It's somebody we didn't have to go and chase down, and it turns in the business for us. So that's really pretty cool. But but anyway, let's go through conversion. So automation is good. You certainly got to have that. But when a lead comes in, you obviously have to jump on them right away. If you can't jump on them in the first 10 seconds, that's fine. But you have to realize these people are going to other sites too. So once you get a hold of them, you can get to hold them right away. Maybe you can stop them from going to that next site or that third site or that fourth site. Not to mention, if they do that, a lot of times they're going to be getting hounded by agents, and all of a sudden they're not answering their phone. So always try to get to them real quick, certainly within the 5-minute rule that we've all heard, but I would just get a hold of them immediately. I mean, you could be dialing that number and then immediately start looking things up online as the phone's ringing. You don't need to get all your ducks in a row before you talk to somebody. We're all in this business. We can talk to somebody about real estate without even knowing their address. We do it at events and parties and parks and all that stuff all the time anyway. So if they don't answer the phone and all that stuff, so let's talk about the formula for conversion. I've heard a million of them. I've heard the 10 days of pain. I've heard all kinds of them. The one I tend to use is the 3x3 plan. So let me tell you what that is. First of all, there's a lot of different ways to contact someone. There's a phone call, there's text, there's video, which I love, video email, video text. There's smoke signals, there's Facebook friending, there's all kinds of things you can do. But I suggest calls, text, or video, obviously, is your main three. And you can mix them up: video, text, video, email, a text, a call. You can do whatever you want. But anyway, my whole thing is 3x3. Obviously, if you call them, they answer, that's it, you're done. But this is the conversion formula I'm going to tell you right now is more for people that didn't answer. Maybe they just don't think they're ready yet. They don't want to talk to somebody today. I've done that. I've went online and 10 minutes later, somebody calls me. Well, now I'm busy into something else. And I may reach out to them in a week later. I mean, everybody's busy. So don't think because they ignored you, they're not interested. They clicked on a house or they clicked on something, they liked that message, there must be a reason. So, find out what the heck that is. So my formula, 3x3, meaning you got to reach out to them 3 times a day for 3 days. So the lead comes in, you call them. First of all, technically 4 the first time. So you call them, they don't answer. I immediately hang up. I call them back. You can do what you want on that second call if they don't answer. Some people leave a message, some people don't. Every coach in the world will tell you not to. I actually do. But I don't use the, hey, this is so and so with such and such realty, this and that. I usually say, hey, this is Carl. I'm calling you back regarding, and I always mention what it was. Was it for a free marketing magazine, free list of homes, free off-market list of properties, whatever it was? I make sure they understand I'm returning it to them because they asked for something specific and that sort of thing. So that's what I do. But anyway, long story short, so you hang up the phone where you left the message or not, and then I immediately text them and I say, hey, is this Karen? Is this Keith? Whatever the is. Many times, and I'm talking over 50% of the time, you'll get a yes or a who is this, meaning they're not going to ignore you regardless of what they say. Yes or who is this? I text back and say, great, I'll call you back in 10 seconds. So that's what I do. I call them. Over 80% of the time, by doing that, they will answer the phone because now they don't know. They don't know you're a sales guy, a real estate guy. They might think you're somebody from their kid's school. Who knows? They don't know. All they know is that somebody asked if it was them, and then they said they'd call them in 10 seconds. So now their mind's going. So they're going to at least pick up the phone. And now you can have a conversation with them. If they get to you and say, hey, this was kind of, you had me scared, whatever, we're all skilled enough. We should be able to handle that. And just say, oh, hey, I apologize. I was just trying to get back to you. Purchasing a home or selling a home, whatever it is such a big deal. And I don't want people to think we were ignoring and dropping the ball. So I just wanted to get back to you and answer a couple questions you had. That usually diffuses everything. Be yourself and all that stuff. Just have conversations with people. But again, now let's say they don't answer, right? None of that happens. The 3x3. So you're doing the 3x3 for 3 days, right? Or 3 contacts for 3 days. So then the next day you're doing the same thing. So when you're doing that call, though, by the way, was just one. So now you're still going to text them and then maybe a video email, a video text, something like that. The next day, same thing, 3x3. The next day, 3x3. You've now reached out to them 9 times in 3 days. If they were really interested right now, you'd think they would have gotten back to you, even if it was, hey, call me after 7 o'clock tonight, whatever. And that's the other thing. Kind of switch it up a little bit. Text them after 7 o'clock at night or after 6:30. One of my texts is usually, hey, do you have time to chat now, or is later tonight better for you? It's amazing how if you give them another choice like that, you'll get a response. So anyway, let's say again they don't answer any of those. You get through the 3 days. So then it's the 3x3, but now you're at 3x3 a week. So now you're just reaching out 3 times a week. So you did the 9 times the first 3 days. Now you're doing 3 times a week. They don't respond. Now you're doing it 3 times a month. And this is why it's a 3x3 and it's so easy to remember too, right? And then you're going to go after that month 3x3 in a yearly format. However, by this point, you really should have them into your CRM, your drip system, whatever it is. So they're getting some stuff occasionally that way too. But you're just purposefully sending them something 3 times a year now at that point, a text, a video, whatever. And at that point, I'd probably be just doing video, or maybe a couple videos and a couple phone calls, however you want to do it. But that in itself is going to really increase your um, conversion rate. I remember when I back in Wisconsin, back in Vegas, had a gal Leslie who was my administrator, and occasionally I would have her call expireds for us if we couldn't get a hold of them, and she had time, but she didn't have a lot of time. But she knew if they were right in our circle of the office, those were important. I'll never forget the one time she called this guy, and she called him a lot, never answered, never answered. All of a sudden, he answered the phone. Don't remember his name anymore, but he answered the phone and said, "Hello, Leslie." So that just floored her, and she was, "Hi, do I know you?" Blah blah blah. Well, he didn't, but he had gotten calls from her, and he recognized the number. Turns out he was a pool installer, busy as heck, did want to sell. Loved her persistency. So I went out. Not only did we get the listing, but we actually helped him to purchase as well. And it was all because we were persistent and she didn't care. I mean, she was administrator, right? She's getting paid. She's just doing what she was asked. Why real estate agents can't do that with their time and be persistent and consistent and all that stuff. And that's the other thing too. You really need to have a perfect day schedule. So if you don't have one, I can even help you with that and put that together, but make sure it's realistic too. You don't want to have 40 hours packed into a perfect day schedule. It's just not going to work and you're just going to get frustrated. And then also in that perfect day schedule, you're going to have some time blocked in there for marketing. Maybe it's an hour a day. I actually have a timer that I do an hour a day of marketing. So it could be social media stuff. It could be getting packages out, like I mentioned, just putting the addresses on and getting them ready to drop off at the post office later in the day. All of that could be any of that stuff. It could be setting up some automatic, updating your automatic emails to people and that sort of thing. So an hour a day doing that stuff, going to be incredible. Might not sound like a lot, but now in a week, you have 5, 6, or 7 hours that you've done. And over the course of a month, now you've done 20, 30 hours of marketing. Big difference. Instead of just not knowing what to do, there's always things you can do and tweak things up and that sort of thing. As far as leads go now, let's talk about getting more leads in. There's a whole bunch of companies out there, and I suggest you just sign up with all of them. There's a lot of referral based companies out there. 25 to 35% typically. You go up, log into their website, put in all your information, and eventually, you know what's going to happen. A lot of them you're never going to see anything, but you're going to start getting some leads from some. You start closing, you start updating them properly, and all that sort of thing. All of a sudden, you'll start getting more and more. And all of a sudden, I know guys that, I've never experienced this myself, but I do quite a few referrals that way every year. But I know a guy that does 50, 60, 70 home lights, for example, transactions every year. So is there nobody in his marketplace? Is he just the one that's doing most of the closings? But anyway, you develop a reputation, all of a sudden you'll start getting that business. So there's a lot of stuff like that out there. Home Light, I'm sure you all know of Home Light. They're on TV and all kinds of things. It's a free, but again, you're paying the referral fee at the end. I don't see any problem with that. I mean, it's a bonus check, right? You wouldn't have had those people anyway. So what's the problem with marketing yourself and you're basically leveraging somebody else's marketing dollars. It's no different than our broker. He's doing TV. He's spending all this money on Zillow. We're actually and get that, and then we pay them at closing. Nothing wrong with that at all. We're leveraging somebody else's money to help us at the end of the day. I didn't talk about this in the initial beginning too much, but we were talking about trying to do 100,000 in, let's say, 4 months. That's really not that hard. I used to always talk about 50 to 70,000. Now we've raised that because obviously home prices have gone up through the roof and that sort of thing. I mean, really, how much is, let's say, $100,000 in 4 months? So what is that? That's like 17 weeks, right? It's 4.3 weeks in a month, basically, 17 weeks. So is that 5,000 basically? 170? Yeah, I mean, pretty close to that, about $7,000, I guess. $7,000 a week. I mean, that's one transaction. Maybe it's less than that, depending on where you are, if you really think about that. When I first started real estate 24 years ago, and I guess I was an idiot because I didn't know any better, but people were asking me my goals when I first started. I said I'd like to do one a week, and people looked at me like I had 3 heads. But to me, that made sense. If I'm going to be working 5, 6, and 7 days a week back then, being single and working in real estate, it made sense that I could sell a house a week. My first year, I did 24, so I basically did half of that. But after that, it was pretty consistent and doing it and blah, blah, blah. And, things change, right? We didn't have the internet leads back then, but we've evolved and changed. And when the market crashed in 08, 9, 10, 11, I mean, we were doing a ton of short sales and all that sort of thing. So you have to evolve and that sort of thing. And now we've evolved again with different marketing and all that sort of thing, but there's stuff out there. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that still work too. So anyway, these websites, that's great. The other things that still work are for sale by owners and expireds. Not everybody's going to want to call them. I personally prefer for sale by owners over expireds. Number one, I don't have to worry about bad phone numbers. They also know they want to sell their house. Where the expireds have a bad taste about agents, they're giving you every excuse in the book. I prefer to mail expireds and then call them afterwards if I'm going to do anything. But the for sale by owners, I have no problem calling. I know people that are exactly the opposite. They don't like calling the for sale by owners because they think they're cheap and unrealistic, but the expireds have already signed a listing contract and they're raring to go. And they have good success with that. So it's really more of a mindset than anything. And trust me, through the years, I've worked with both. But I actually like the for sale by owners. I'll give you some tips on the for sale by owners. And this has been since I've been an agent, but 50 to 70 agents usually call these for sale by owners the first week or so. And then it just starts to dwindle off. We've added agents, things have changed, people have gone, people have come, and still that same 50 or 70 are calling them. Mostly newer agents, but they get frustrated because they don't know what to say. Then they drop off. Usually by the time that for sale by owner, if they haven't sold and they are starting to think of listing, it's down to just a few agents that are still actually calling them. So I'm going to give you some things about that. So number one, yeah, call them up, get them on the phone, find out what's going on. I can give you for sale by owner scripts if you really want them, but I'm just trying to give you some generic stuff here. But I try to get into the door. And honestly, it's real easy to get in the door. If you just tell them, hey, I want to like to pop on over, preview the home, see if it's a fit for any of our buyers who do a lot of business in the area. Certainly, that's probably true for all of you. Even if you're not doing a lot of business, I'm sure the company is. So definitely not a fib at all. Most people, if you do it right, 80% of those of FSBOs, so 8 out of 10 will let you come on over and view the home. They just will, but make it, pretty quick. If they really press you for that, if they say, well, hey, I'm not listing, you say, oh, absolutely not. In fact, I guarantee we won't even talk about listing the home. And if they talk about time frame, I usually tell them 10 to 15 minutes. I can walk through a house in 2 minutes, right? So if I tell them 10 to 15, that actually gives me a little time to sit there and talk to them. And I can pick their brain pretty easily without them maybe realizing what I'm doing to try to find out their time frame and what's going on. If their Uncle Bobby's a licensed agent and that's who they're going to work with, and hey, if that's the case, fine. I don't over pre-qualify anybody on the phone. Totally against everybody you hear out there, Ferry and everybody else. I listen to agents talk on the phone and I am appalled. Somebody will call up, let's say a Zillow lead even. They'll click on something and this person on the other line, this agent will ask 9 million questions to somebody they've never met and they expect to get an honest response from these people. That's like asking a Trump supporter if they're voting for Trump. We know the polls were terrible and nobody would admit it, but yet he got 71 million votes and he won in 2016. So people aren't going to always tell you the truth. They're not going to want to jump through a flaming hoop of fire and get you an approval letter when they don't know who you are. They're going to tell you that, yes, I have an agent, this and that. They're going to give you all these excuses. Pretty soon, agents figure out a way not to show that home instead of, hey, you just requested to see this home this afternoon at 2:00. Is that right? Yes, it is. Awesome. Blah, blah, blah. My name's Carl. I'll meet you over there at 2:00. Anything I need to know beforehand? Or do you need anything else from me before we meet today? Usually that's a no. But sometimes they'll say, I was wondering about this other house that I wanted to see. And usually I'll ask that at the end if they don't ask me something. They'll say, great, now before we meet at 2:00, was there another property also in that same area you wanted to see? Because I can help you with that too. I always ask that because you never know. And third of the time, I'd say at least 20%, probably more so, there is another one. And now I've cut another agent out of there and we'll show them the property. but there's no reason to overqualify people. Do you really think there's a lot of people out there trying to waste agents' time who absolutely have 300 credit scores and $2 in the bank, but they want to go out and look at homes? That's that would be frustrating for them. So it doesn't mean that everybody's perfect, and maybe they misunderstood what their buying power is. But if you can get in front of somebody, I've gotten in front of people at $600,000 homes and found out they could only purchase up to 350. Guess what? We sold them a $350,000 home. If I would have tried for this pre-approval and found out, oh, they can't qualify that for a home, a lot of people would have just blew them out, and that would have been that. I'm going to be in this business for a long time still. I'm here for the long run, and if people are ready now, or if they're here a year from now, whatever the case is, I'm going to be there for them. And that's why we have so many people in the loop as well on this whole thing. So anyway, I'm sorry to beat that horse up a little bit, but that even goes with conversion a little bit too. I always tell agents that I'm talking to, we got to stop being the police. We're not needing to follow every little step, because they don't understand every little step anyway. And they just think that some guy over the phone wants to get all their financial information and know their blood type and get their firstborn, when all they want to do is see a darn house. And there's how many agents are in your marketplace? They're going to find somebody who's going to show them the house. And if they're serious, even these Zillow leads, I have shown many houses, just one property, where they bought that property. We had one here just a couple months ago. That was a lower end home, in my opinion, for what we sell, but 307. But it was a condo. I met them at the condo. Turns out their brother or somebody. Anyway, there's a relative living in the building. This was on the ground floor. It had the water view. So guess what? They liked it. Boom, they bought it because they knew they wanted to be in that building. Hold on one second. So anyway, it happens all the time. So what if I had blown them off? What if I asked a whole bunch of questions? I didn't ask them. Oh, by the way, they were cash, and we closed in 15 days. So that was pretty nice as well. So don't ever assume anything with people on that end of it. The whole goal, we can't sell anything anyway unless we're face to face with people typically. Obviously, I have sold homes to people who are out of state where we did a video and did that, but guess what? We were still doing the same thing, right? We were still went to the property and did all that stuff. A couple paid sources, and then we'll wrap this thing up. I'm a big believer in Z Buyer. A lot of people don't like Z Buyer. I see people post sometimes about asking questions about Z Buyer, and it's usually 80-90% negative. I've had Z Buyer, I would say, at least 10 years now. It's I think it's pretty cheap for what you get. It's very good return on investment, good ROI. But here's what it is: every agent, these leads are going to multiple agents, so that's one reason it's cheap. You get to pick your county you want, but you only still get so many leads. When I first started with them, I picked the county. I got all those leads in the county for the month, this and that. They realized they could make a little more money, so they kind of have it broken down how many leads you get per month. So usually by about the third week of the month, definitely the fourth week of the month, the leads are slow or non-existent, and then they start over when they charge the card again. But you get plenty of leads. And they have changed through the years too, because now the cash buyer thing is so huge. So now basically most of their advertisement is, do you want to sell? Do you want a cash offer? They have to go through and answer about 7 questions. So that itself tells you they're somewhat serious. Of course, it's like any lead, right? Some of you get a hold of them, some of you don't. They'll tell you they didn't call, they didn't click on anything, they didn't do anything. They just wanted a value, all that sort of thing. But I have a really good script to kind of get through some of that stuff. But at the same time, it's a good return on investment. I'm spending a little less than $500 a month, and I have 3 counties in there, and we're consistently closing a couple a month. So not too bad. I shouldn't say a couple. I think last year we did 15, so it's over 1 a month though. But again, $500, 1 closing, pretty good. I know for a fact we could be doing better if we were being a little more consistent. I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do, right? You're out with customers, you're calling. Now, if you want to hire a VA and have somebody else helping you with conversion, that's going to actually increase your production. So there's a lot of things like that you can do, and we can talk about as well. But I like Z Buyer because there's a lot of leads and they're cheap, and I know how to convert them, and we can help you to convert those too. But again, it's not one of those leads you pound and ask a million questions. They want a cash offer. You're basically setting up a time to come over so you can give them a cash offer. And then you're going to obviously work them to where that cash offer is so low, it's going to make more sense to list the property. And that's kind of where it goes. If they're willing to accept a ridiculously low cash offer, I'm sure you all have an investor that would jump in and pay for it if you're not going to do that yourself. The other one is a BEX Realty. I do recommend. They're kind of like Zillow, meaning they're driving a lot of people to their website all over the place, but it's community driven. So people are looking like for a specific community. So it may not be an area or zip code or however Zillow does it nowadays, because it seems like that stuff changes, but it's a community. So they get a lead for that community. And of course, what you're usually telling them is where you work, but when you get the lead, it's going to be based on a certain community, usually a condo complex, a subdivision, that sort of thing. You're paying for the leads, of course, but the reason I like them is you can tell them how many leads a month you want. Every market is different, so I'm just going to tell you what we were paying. It was $35 a month. I could have paid 25, but I paid the 35 because if you paid the 35, they actually have an ISA who's making calls for you too. So they're also trying to get a hold of them, getting them into the loop and setting the appointment and sending it to you. But so instead of just you, even if you only call once or twice and haven't been able to get a hold of them, you don't have to be pounding them. You don't have to maybe follow the 3 times 3, even though I would, but because you don't know how often their ISAs call them, but at least there's somebody else trying on your behalf as well. So that's why I like them too. But the free ones, now for those of you that end up, really interested, if you sign up with LPT and I'm your sponsor, I have a list of over 40 companies that I always send people to start signing up with different companies. Not all of them are free ones. There's quite a few in there that are paid as well. But those, hold on a second. Got to grab something. Anyway, but those are also some of the ones I would suggest you can pay for as versus some of the other junk that's out there and that sort of thing. So at the end of the day, like I said, figure out in your market what $100,000 in that 4 months would be, or 3 months, whatever you want to do. And then just break it down, because when you start breaking that down and looking at it, if it clearly is only 6 grand a week, and you can break it down further, maybe it's 1,000 a day or whatever the case is, whatever can keep you motivated to get rolling every day. But if you have that goal in mind and realize if it's 6,000 a week, or maybe it's 8,000 a week, or well, it'd be less than that, if and that sort of thing. But then you'll figure out, okay, how many deals is that now? I mean, it might be what did we say originally, $7,000-8,000 a week? Maybe that's a half a deal, or it's 3/4 of a deal, whatever the case is. But you can break this thing down and come up with some real serious goals and realize that it's not nearly this big animal we think it is. The market right now is down about 30% overall. That's why you see Redfin, Compass, a lot of these other companies not going out of business, but they're cutting staff down like crazy. Our company, part of it's new, but part of it is with all these tools. We got so many people coming over. We got small brokerages coming over. We got large teams from EXP coming over. We got all kinds of people coming over. That's why we have over 4,000 agents in such a short period of time. We're up over 9,000% on last year. But again, we were new, right? So that makes sense. But things are just rolling here. We did 400 million in sales last month. We're going to do 500 million sales for May. It just keeps rolling. Our whole goal is real estate first. Let's do a bunch of real estate, but in the meantime, let's have fun doing it. The owner of our company, real quick, a couple more things. We own a soccer team. We're actually building a stadium in Jacksonville. He sponsors the St. Petersburg Grand Prix, so it's got LPT all over the place. This guy is a marketer, and that's what helps us. So again, we're getting his stuff, being able to leverage it, and that sort of thing. And it's been a game changer. It really has been. So if you want to double your business, if you're in the markets we're in, I would say, at least click on the waiting list, get the paperwork, talk to me, and we can go through even more details of how things work here. But at the same time, hopefully I gave you some great value today to help you do more business. If you're not in a state where we are now, I would still click on the wait list. Don't know when we'll be there. It's my understanding, like in California, it's going to be a couple years at least because we're trying to control the growth. We don't want to grow so fast where we make mistakes, but we're still growing at a pretty good rate now because of what's going on. So anyway, I'll just go ahead and wrap this up. Again, my number will be, and the website hopefully will be in the email I send you out. Again, my name is Carl Gressen, Gresen, direct cell 727-202-2112. And you guys have a great day, great weekend. And any questions at all, reach out and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Have a good one.